What's up, everyone? Welcome back to episode 10 of the Keep It Down podcast presented by DUBBY. As always, I'm your host, Garrett, joined by my two co hosts, TC. Say what's up to the people.
What is up, everybody?
Big schmag, baby. How you doing?
Doing good, man. It's great to be back after the vacation. Feel nice and relaxed and ready to go.
Yeah, much needed vacation, boys. Just quick housekeeping notes, real quick. Be sure to follow the pod on Instagram at Keep It Down Pod. Post podcast exclusive content weekly. In our bio, you'll find our link tree, which will take you directly to the podcast wherever you choose to listen. Be sure to follow, like, subscribe, and leave us a rating. Boys, we saw a stage 5 nuclear meltdown in Corvallis, Oregon this weekend.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how you guys want to cut into this thing, but I guess we can kind of just pass it around and give our thoughts and takeaways and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the question, is this worse than the Alamo Bowl? The infamous TCU Alamo Bowl?
I say yes. I say it's way worse.
Why do you think it's worse?
I just feel like with the Alamo Bowl, was legendary for sure. But
Legendary, dude.
that was for a bowl game. Like this game against Oregon State was for a Pac-12 championship, for bragging rights in the conference, and a good bowl game, possibly a Rose Bowl against what we'll talk about it later, but it looks to be maybe Ohio State. Um, yeah, it just there was a lot right on the line, man, and it was. Six completions wins you football games in the Pac-12 in 2022, I guess, because that's what Oregon State posted. But yeah, it feels worse than that game for sure, I think.
Yeah, I think for sure worse as well because you got to think in the Alamo Bowl, we lost our starting center and Vernon Adams in the late in the second quarter. Maybe it was early in the third. So
Yeah.
I definitely rank that one as a little more justified, if you will. But yeah, just losing like that, man. I mean, we were watching the game and it was in the third quarter, and I was like, honestly, like we might be able to go do what we need to do. And then, Oregon State started crawling back in it, and then it seemed like the guys just kind of lost their drive and their will to. And yet again, we fall into this trap of just getting stuck in the same look for 2 quarters of a football game. I just
Mm-hmm.
don't under. They threw the ball 6 times. How are we not bringing a safety into the box and making them beat us in the air?
No.
It's oh gosh. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead, TC.
No, just definitely. And I think the part that makes it hurt that much worse is that this is like a familiar feeling for us, because like every year Oregon comes in and we have these massive highs during the year and they make you believe again that like this is going to be Oregon's year, and then ultimately the letdown comes at some point. You
Mm.
know what I mean? And it sucks
No.
to put it in that box, but that's what it has been for the last 10 years that we've really been paying attention to Oregon football. It's a lot of getting really hyped, and then at some point we just can't get the job done and get over the hump. Um, and this particular meltdown was just another example of that. Schmog mentioned it, but a possible Rose Bowl berth against another really good team on the line, as well as we're kind of still sniffing around that college football playoff top four with the win, because we saw LSU go down. You don't know what's going to happen over championship weekend. Just really disappointing to have our season almost feel like it ends this way.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, it's fourth down on our own 35, and we're going for it. We get stuffed again, and then like Oregon State has an easy touchdown after that, and it just happened so quick, man. It was like just the start of the fourth quarter, and there's something just flipped, and that was it. And then obviously the news, which we're going to touch on here in a little bit, but just everything that came about after the game and the news we got after the game, and some of our worst fears becoming true about our coaching situation in Oregon. But man, it was such a gut punch this last weekend. It was just no words. Like our group chat that we normally have, that we're normally talking about the pros and cons of the game, just dead silent. Like just nobody really had much to say. And I mean, you can't really say much about implosions like that, but it hurts to have another one under our belt. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
and we it was really humiliating the fact that I think Chach pointed out the stat after the game, but Oregon State only threw the ball a handful of times and was able to beat us in 2022. Like it just the way that the meltdown happened, I think added to some of that, like the sting of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
What
Oregon
were you
State
gonna say,
was.
Chach?
I was just gonna say, yeah, I mean, just touching on the throwing the ball situation, Oregon has 53 4 and 5 star athletes, and Oregon State has 7.
Yeah,
And so, I mean, if Oregon State's throwing the ball 6 times in the game, twice in the second half, uh, I bet a lot of bookies would pay a lot of money for Oregon's chances there. But yeah, just a rough one, man. Overall, just to get pushed around for a whole half, it's kind of similar to the Utah games last year, just getting physically dominated.
yep.
But it's we always talk about it. It's easy to say Lanning should have punted the ball, this that, but then you got the block punt, and then our punter dropped the ball, and so
Hmm.
I mean, it's tough. You're just thinking, if we get one fourth down going our way, then we can move it down the field and all that stuff. So it's a tough spot. You love the aggressiveness, but sometimes you got to take points on the road for sure. So
Yeah, definitely. And I told you guys before the game, but literally the night before the game, it was Thanksgiving weekend, and I'm with the in-laws, and a lot of them are USC fans. And so I'm sitting there with a room full of USC fans, and they're telling me about how Oregon's gonna lose, USC's gonna win, USC's gonna win the Pac-12, and I went 10 toes down for Oregon, guys. I stood up because I was really believing that Oregon was the better team at the time. You know what I mean? So like after the events of what was last Saturday, just having to put my foot in my mouth and just have that sour taste in my mouth, it added to it as well. So I think it was probably one of the worst Saturdays of college football that I can remember in a long time, to be
Yeah,
honest with you.
yeah. I mean, and there were some really good games earlier on in the day too. And like going into our game, into Oregon's game, I was just pumped up. I was like, it's gonna be good. Today's the day. We're gonna finally get our shot at USC that we've been talking about. Michigan pulled out a crazy win, and that does all sorts of weird stuff for the college football playoff, honestly.
Hmm.
And it, like I said, just such a heartbreak, man. And yeah, I mean, the fact that you had to go 10 toes down for the boys and then put those toes right back in your own mouth, like,
The
sucks.
worst, man. The worst.
I've got a hypothetical for you boys. Do you think the way this season ended will affect Bo Nix's future moving forward?
Whew, that's a tough one to say because if you're Bo Nix, right, you didn't have the best career at Auburn. You come to Oregon and you raise your draft stock so much. You hit the lottery, man. Like you are draft relevant right now. Do you risk it to come back for another year? I mean, it's kind of like how much did this year mean to him? And like in his head, is he ever going to be this high on the draft boards ever again?
Yeah, so I mean, unfortunately, with the news that came in, and I guess we'll talk about it now, Kenny Dillingham signing that contract to be Arizona State's new head coach, I think that pretty much erased any chance that we're going to see Bo Nix back in a Duck uniform next season, unfortunately. Those two kind of came in hand, and they've obviously worked with each other in the past before, and they're familiar with each other. And I think Bo Nix did so much for himself this season, but I don't think he's gonna chance yet again playing under a new OC in a school that he spent 1 year at that he had a great career with here so far. So yeah, I'm gonna say it pretty much just wipes out any of those chances that we're gonna get. But I think he's gonna take his losses here, and he's gonna declare for the draft. So
Yeah, probably like 65% that he's going to go. It's just you never know, man. With these kids that are competitors like Bo is, you just never know what's going on behind the scenes or how he really feels about it. He's had a lot of issues with ankle injuries in the past, and so you never know if that's going to affect draft stock or anything like that. So he said he's going to wait until after the season to announce. So I'm guessing that means after the bowl game. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, Obviously, we'd love it for the kid to stay,
Hmm.
but you know, I mean, got a future, got a wife, and all that stuff. So only
Yeah,
can wish the
definitely.
best for
And
the boy.
I was gonna say this is kind of one of those times when you wish that a player could maybe test the draft waters without having to like make that decision. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Yeah.
once you declare, that's it, man. Like you're either getting taken or you're not. Like it'd be nice for him to get a window in, of like how high am I? Like do I think I can better this? Like kind of that whole deal. But again, yeah, if he was truly gonna like run it back with the same crew, I think it would be maybe a little bit of a harder decision. But with all the events that unfolded on Saturday, that's just not going to be the case, you know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I wish like hell that he would, stay. But yeah, I don't know. But I mean, on the flip side of that, though, I mean, we have seen a couple, Oregon Duck players enter the transfer portal, and Butterfield being one of those players. So I mean, maybe he knows something we don't. Maybe he knows that there's going to be a declared starter next year for us, and we'll see, man. It's going to be interesting for sure. But yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
boys.
was. Sorry, TC. I just got one more thing on this. On the recruiting side of things, the number one player in the 2023 draft is committed to Oregon, and after all this happened, Kenny Dillingham was his main recruiter, and he's still saying he's still verbally committed to Oregon. So we'll see. I think things open up here on the 5th to start talking about
Hmm.
transfer portal and all that kind of stuff, and visits and all that stuff. So with signing day coming in February, I think we'd like to see Dan Lanning kind of make his offensive coordinator decision sooner rather than later. Got a
Hmm.
couple kids in the top 25 of this next 2023 class coming up. So I think it's definitely crucial that he finds the right guy, but also can do it with a bit of a sense of urgency so we can keep some of this talent in house.
Yeah, boys. We kind of talked about what happened during the game, but here on the Keep It Down podcast, we rock a 5-star rating system for just Oregon's jerseys, not necessarily how they played in the jerseys, the overall uniform. How did you guys like them this last weekend? How many stars out of 5 are you giving them?
I mean, I'm going right in the middle here, boys. It's got to be a 3.0 for me. It's a. I do appreciate that for rivalry games, both teams wear color. It's a great addition. It just makes everything look better. There's no white or anything like that. So I appreciate that. They're just green. I mean, it looks good, decent for sure, but obviously not the most creative or flashy to say the least. So I'm gonna ride the middle of the road with a 3.0, boys.
What do you think, Ishmael?
I'm gonna give them a 2 star. They're good looking uniforms, but they're to me they're slightly below like what I consider average at Oregon. So I'm gonna give them a 2.
Yeah, I'm actually going 3.5 stars here, guys. Um, I liked the uniforms themselves, but overall, this game was like really aesthetically pleasing to the eye. You know, Chacha mentioned it. They're both wearing colors, so that that vibrant green with Oregon State's just disgusting orange somehow still pulled off a good look overall. Just like I said, aesthetically pleasing to the eye. So I think that added to it a little bit. You guys both mentioned it's green. It's all green, but with the yellow numbers and the details that Oregon always pulls off, I'm going with a 3.5 stars here, guys.
I like it.
Boys, switching gears a little bit. Talked about American football. Went over to the
Mm,
game of soccer here for a bit, boys.
it's called
So
soccer.
as you know, World Cup going on, boys. Team USA made it out of the groups for the first time since 2014, boys.
Let's
Huge.
go.
They beat Iran on Tuesday 1-0. Goal from Christian Pulisic.
Let's
He's
go,
that
baby.
guy.
The boy.
So, boys, you're going to have to lock it in. We play Netherlands Saturday, 7 a.m. Pacific. So you're going to have to lock in, get a coffee, get up early, support the boys.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask you guys. Are you guys watching this, or are you keeping up with this story? Like, are you guys watching the World Cup, or are you guys just seeing that USA won?
So because the games are all kind of at weird times,
Super weird.
I did watch the last I want to say 20 minutes of the game. I think I realized that it was like currently going on, so I turned it on. I think they were in the 80th minute, and then they had 10 minutes to 90, and then they had like the 9 minutes of extra time. So yeah, I watched the last like 20 minutes, and it was crazy, man. I mean, the U.S. team, like, just literally just playing defense the whole entire time. It seemed like um, Iran was just like in our zone. And mind you, everyone listening, we never, well, Chach played a year of soccer, so our terminology is probably a little off with some of this, but yeah. So I mean, like, Iran was like in our zone for like the last like 20 minutes, and I mean the boys just 10 toes down, man. I mean, as as a what I I mean, we're a pretty patriotic group of people here. I mean, whenever your country's playing, I mean, you got to support the boys. So yeah, I mean, USA all the way, man.
Yeah, 100%. Like I watched some of the USA versus England game. I think that was last Friday, and I think because I don't really know the nuances to the game, but like soccer is just kind of hard to watch. Not hard. I think that game in particular was hard to watch because it was a draw, like 0-0. Not a whole lot happening. They're getting a lot of cardio, but not a lot of fireworks being shot off during the game. So I definitely am going to give it another shot on Saturday versus the Netherlands, being that we made it out of the group stage and now there's a lot of hype behind this team. But for me, like, watching soccer is a lot like watching the Olympics, right?
Mm.
Like, I'm rooting for the Americans because I'm American. We're all patriotic. Like, we all want to see USA win. Same thing with the Olympics. I know nothing about cross country skiing, but when the American chick is like in the hunt for the lead, I'm rooting her on as hard as I can. You know what I mean? Just because, like, dude, I got your back. You know what I mean? So,
Oh yeah.
kind of that vibe for me.
Yeah, I was just gonna hit on that. So yeah, like TC was saying, in the group stage, it's a little playing for a draw, but that's no more. Now we're in a single elimination tournament. These games will go till there's a winner, boys. So we're talking extra time, we're talking shootouts, we're talking all that good stuff. So
All the drama.
yeah, it should be a little more entertaining. So definitely gonna be locked in for that one. Huge from the boys though.
Yeah, definitely. There's a couple of good stories coming out of this too. I think Schmag kind of mentioned it at the opener. You want to talk about calling it soccer, Schmag?
Yeah. So I mean, everywhere else in the world besides the United States, I mean, soccer in other parts of the world is called football. And to be completely honest with you, football makes way more sense than soccer does. I mean, than our American football here. I mean, yeah, yes, there are kickoffs and punts and all that stuff, but you're usually touching the ball with your hands more than your feet. But yeah, and so yeah, one of the American players writes on his shirt, it's called soccer, scores a goal, lifts his jersey up, and boom, there it is. And so it's kind of like this meme that's going on. But like, now that we're officially in like the knockout rounds, like the top 16, like, we've kind of like, it's turned into this whole meme, and I love it because it's just like the United States team to meme the FIFA World Cup, which is like the most prestigious tournament you could possibly be in. But I love it, man. I love it so much, and everyone just hates us. It makes people hate us even more. So I support
Yeah,
it naturally.
everyone in the stands to be chanting "It's called soccer" is just like the most American thing you can do on like the biggest stage to do it on. Like, just like I said, like, just typical America. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That story was awesome, and then I just saw a lot on social media, like before the England game, like everyone just saying how we're gonna get blown out. All this, like, all these English guys on there, like, saying that it's going to be 4-0 or 4-1 or whatever the case is, like, which is equivalent to a blowout in soccer. And for us to come out, I know we didn't get the win, but at least keep it competitive and get the draw overall was really satisfying.
Absolutely. And I think it's just a testament to American sports because, soccer was the one knock they had on us. Our team didn't
Definitely.
qualify for the last World Cup and all that stuff. So it was the one knock. So, I mean, if we make it decently far in this tournament, the world is going to fall apart, dude. Um,
Yeah.
and speaking of the tournament, I think so we can go all the way to the final, and our possible matchups are Senegal, Saudi Arabia, Poland, and Australia.
Oh, we'd love to see that.
So
So all the big,
really,
so
then
the big dogs are on the other side then,
exactly.
i.e., Germany.
No, yeah, Germany, England,
Yeah,
Argentina, France, all those big dogs are on the other side. So
let's
if we can
go,
get past the
baby.
Netherlands here, oof, we got a shot at making the final. So
Perfect.
Yeah, like I just, you know, the rest of the world, their best athletes play soccer. You know what I mean? Like soccer is their main sport. Like imagine if our LeBrons and our Tom Brady's and our Williams sisters, like imagine if they were soccer players.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we would be so OP at soccer. You know what I mean? Like, dude, like, there's no secret that America has the best athletes. Not in every situation, but like, it's just well known that we're an athletic powerhouse, right? So, like, if our best athletes all played soccer, like the rest of the world, like we would have been much more competitive way earlier. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, can you imagine LeBron jumping for headers in the box? Like
Exactly.
no one is touching that ball.
Yeah, or KD jumping in the box or
Are
something
you
like.
kidding me?
Yeah, like I don't know if that lengthy of a man would be good at soccer, but put him in just for the headers. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Like
Like
playing
who's guarding
goalie?
that boy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. Imagine Justin Tucker out there, dude, kicking corners. You know what I
Oh
mean?
my gosh.
Oh baby.
Yeah, it's a great time. And for those of you listening, if you're too prideful to watch your country playing, soccer, tune in on Saturday. Like, I mean, it's our duty. I mean, those guys are over there putting on for our country. Like, support them.
Yeah, honestly, just flick it on while you're cleaning the house or doing your chores or whatever, and then
Yeah,
before long, you'll catch yourself watching. Guaranteed. 10 out of 10.
Oh
yeah,
yeah, you'll definitely be watching.
yeah. Just give it a shot. Like, they're gonna fake injuries. They're gonna do that. But you know what? I mean, so does LeBron. So I mean, like, come on.
Also, the U.S. does do that the least out of any game that I've watched, so that's something
Yeah,
at
that
least.
it's hard to watch, man. It's sometimes it's bad.
All right, guys, we spent a little bit of time on the sport of soccer. Let's switch back to American football. I want to go a little off script here, guys, because I saw a story about Antonio Brown come out today.
Oh,
Mm,
Apparently, he was held up in his house with a standoff with police.
yeah,
Um, I guess like he's got a warrant for a crime that he committed in like 2017 or 2018, something like that. But just we've just seen this massive downhill spiral from Antonio Brown, guys. And you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna give a kudos to my Pittsburgh Steelers because we kept this guy under wraps for so long. Not
love this
only
for me.
kept him under wraps, but he was an absolute superstar for us, guys. Like he was on
Mm,
the cover of Madden when he was playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and now he's like held up in his house. Like this guy is just off his rocker, and for Coach Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers organization to set an environment where this guy could be like kept in check and kept this crazy in check, so that he could just be a superstar athlete for us. Like just really amazing job, but overall just really sad to see a human spiral like this, guys.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely. It kind of seems like he's in this weird groove where it's like he's had a lot of success, and everyone knows who he is. I mean, he was a great football player, and he kind of seems like he's in this weird like relevancy thing where he's trying to fit in with this new wave of like people being popular on YouTube and Twitter, and he's like trying to fit in that space and the whole rapping career. And he definitely seems like from the outside looking in, just watching some of the clips of these interviews that he's done. I mean, he definitely kind of I mean, it seems like he thinks he's on top of the world and he's above everybody else, and he's just you know, I mean, there's we've talked about it a little bit, but there's life after football, and some guys have a really hard time, um, adjusting to that. And I would say this dude's having a pretty dang rough go of it for sure.
yeah, absolutely masterclass from the Steelers for keeping this dude caged for that
Yeah,
long.
for real. Yeah, Tomlin, dude, that dude deserves something,
Because I mean,
whatever award.
all you saw from the guy was just catching touchdowns, and that's it.
Yeah,
There
like
was
we
never
we
anything
knew
like that.
we knew he was kind of different,
Yeah,
but that's all we knew.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like he Sparta kicked the Browns punter, so what? It just happens to everyone.
Rivalry games get crazy,
Exactly.
dude.
Yeah.
but just so weird, like the videos coming out of him in like Abu Dhabi or wherever doing whatever with the girl in the pool or whatever. We're not going to get into specifics on the show, but just
It's a family
it's
show.
all, yeah, it's all bad. You don't love to see it. He's I think he's hanging out with the wrong crowd, to be honest. He's, yeah, like Schmack said, he's trying to fit in or get attention, get clicks, which I understand is part of the game. With social media nowadays, the most polarizing figures get the most clicks. So, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, once you make your bed, you got to sleep in it. So you kind of got to dance a fine line of what you're willing to put out on the internet to portray yourself and what you're willing to come home to at night. So you hate to see it, especially, growing up, obviously TC's a big Steelers guy. So by proxy, you're kind of a Steelers guy, always watching the games and highlights and all that stuff. So yeah, you
Yeah,
just don't love to see it, man.
I mean, my team never made the playoffs, so I was a Steelers fan for like all the playoffs. So, I mean, that counts for something.
Yeah, definitely. Like, just as time went on, like he just got more and more out there. You know what I mean? Like, he leaves the Steelers and he gets to the Raiders, and all of a sudden he can't find a helmet to wear during the game, and you're like,
Yeah,
what?
what are we doing?
What do you can't find a helmet? What are you talking about? And
Yeah,
then requests to get out of there, goes to Tampa, goes to New England, has some success with Tom Brady, which eventually leads him to Tampa.
with Tom
Um,
Brady.
he's just getting progressively more and more weird, and then it all culminates with him just taking off his jersey and quitting football mid game, like in a game against the New York Jets, like waving goodbye to the crowd and ultimately just exiting and just ending his football career like that. And then ever since he's left the football field, it's like this guy's just off his rocker now. Like
Yeah,
he tries the whole rap thing, and then like Josh said, you see these pictures of him doing some obscene things in some pool, like, and then all of a sudden he's in a standoff with police.
yeah.
Like,
Talking about other players' divorces and
yeah, I can't believe I didn't touch on that. Like, just the disrespectful nature he's had towards Tom Brady, just really insane. When really Tom was really trying to help the guy revitalize his career.
hmm
You know what I mean? So just you hate to see it. Just a strange cat, guys.
Or like the releasing of all the fake texts between him and Bruce Arians, where like the first text says like, "Hey, this is BA," standing for Bruce Arians. Like someone fucking says that when they text someone. And
yeah,
so it's just so weird, man. Then you got the whole cryotherapy foot thing, and yeah, he just kind of fell off his rocker, and he's just been in a downward spiral ever since then.
yeah. I think I don't remember which of you said it, but there's definitely a group of influence in his ears. I mean, there's no way he's doing all this by himself. I think he's got a group of people around him that aren't helping him make the best decisions. And we hope the best for the guy. And obviously, the guy needs, I mean, he needs a stern talking to by somebody. But I don't know who's going to give it to him or if he's going to listen. But yeah, man, like, and it's like it's just not even like surprising anymore. Like when I saw that article today, TC, that you're talking about, I was like, oh well, here we go again. It's just going to be the next thing. He's going to put out some stupid tweet about it after, and we're going to be off to the races again. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, definitely. Um, Also, I wanted to get your guys' take on my Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'll tell you why. Um, Being a Steelers fan for most of my life, a lot of my social media is really geared towards like other Steelers fans and Steelers accounts and stuff like that. So I definitely have like a skewed view of reality when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like they're 4-7 right now, guys. Like
Hmm.
obviously not having the best year, but like I still think that there's hope for us to ultimately save a winning season here, guys. Like, I don't know what it is, but I just have a skewed view. Like, I feel like we have so much talent on that team. Like, am I crazy for thinking that we are still a competitive team? I don't know. I want to get an outsider's opinion.
I mean,
I mean,
personally,
I
I
don't think.
think. Sorry, Schmack.
No, you're good. You go ahead.
I think I'd call it a retool. It's not really. I mean, at the beginning of the season, I thought it was a rebuild, but clearly not. You guys have a load of talent. You got a Jim and Kenny Pickett at quarterback. Defense is stout as per usual in Pittsburgh. So yeah, I think mainly I think it's a key piece here and there. I don't know if it's the loss at tackle with Villanueva or the Pouncey brother leaving your center spot. Those are really tough spots to fill, especially a spot like center. You got to snap the ball then block someone. So that's why you see a lot of dudes play a long time and they play one position at center. So yeah, I think a couple key pieces here and there kind of glue some stuff together. But I think next 2 to 3 years, some good draft picks, all that good stuff. Let Pickett keep developing. Pickens is an absolute dog. Got that black Air Force mentality.
Let's go, baby.
So yeah, I mean that's just my 2 cents. So
Yeah, like I'm right there with you, Chach. Like I don't think we have the best roster in the NFL, but we definitely have some really nice pieces. Um, if TJ doesn't get hurt, he's probably going back to back Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously, Minka is a probably top three safety in the AFC. You know, Cam Hayward still being there. Deontay Johnson and George Pickens makes for a nice 1-2 punch on the outside. Um, Najee has had a very slow year, but he's still a first round pick out of Alabama. And then a young Kenny Pickett at the helm. I think we have nice pieces in place, but like Chach said, it's like we just need a little bit more for it all to come together. What do you think, Schmag?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Steelers right there with you. I mean, pretty much whoever they're playing outside of Washington. I mean, I'll normally go for the boys, you know. Um, But yeah, I mean, I think calling this year a rebuild year is a bit steep. I think there's a lot of good like key pieces to that team that are still there that are gonna like continue to thrive. But I mean, also looking at your guys' schedule and what's going on so far, you guys are pretty much like you have a few like tough games left, but you've gotten most of your hard games out of the way. I mean, you still have. Let me see. Bear with me here.
Yeah, give us the full rundown on the schedule here because I know
Okay,
that
so
for
you,
maybe like the past 5 weeks, we've had just an absolutely daunting schedule up until
yeah.
we play the Colts on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, so a win over the Colts, that's a good start. I mean, you talked about, saving a winning season. I mean, you go to Atlanta, who's a 5-7 team. Who knows how that's going to go? You got the Ravens at home. You go to Carolina. You got the Raiders at home. Then you go to Baltimore, and then you got the Browns at home to close out the end of the regular season. So, like, being able to save like some wins here and like come out with at least a 500 record or one above isn't out of the question, man. I mean, Kenny Pickett, dog, hate the fake slide in college, but I mean, he's doing his thing in the NFL. So that's great to see. I mean, he's a good quarterback, and all the building blocks are there, man. They just got to put it together. But I mean, a couple of those losses, man. I mean, that blowout loss to the Browns earlier in the season, and the Browns are a hot dumpster fire as usual. Like, I mean, just some uncharacteristic wins. And I mean, yeah, I think a lot of that is Najee Harris just having a slow start to his season. I mean, once that guy gets going, and I mean, dude, I mean, gonna be all right. You're gonna be fine.
Yeah, definitely. If we're talking about a winning season, we have 7 losses right now. We play 17 games, so basically we can only afford one more loss. We have the Ravens on the schedule twice, so that's obviously going to be the toughies. Um,
Yeah,
the other games all sound pretty winnable.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so I don't know. Ravens Steelers is always a slugfest. We're coming off of a Monday Night Football win, and then we're going to play Atlanta this
Hmm.
week. So, maybe we get a little momentum. I don't think it's out of the question. Tomlin is definitely just one of those guys that likes the grit and grind. And so hopefully we can turn those Ravens games into that. And I wouldn't put it past the guy to get us another winning season and get us some hope going into next season.
Yeah, I mean, even I think if you drop one game to Baltimore, like, I mean, I think the rest are definitely doable games for sure. So
yeah, it's tough to say, man. The NFL is just so different from like the college game, for example.
yeah.
See college teams lose 2 games and it's over, but the NFL is just all about trying to string 2 or 3 games together and wins. A couple on the road or a couple at home, whatever it is. And so not just trying not to get consecutive losses or anything like that is more the name of the game. Um, Speaking of pro football, boys, I kind of want to send this one over to Schmag a little bit here.
If
Um,
hold on, because I had something on and I took it off. Are we putting it back on right now?
yeah, I want to talk about it.
I do too.
Okay,
I have
so
I have things to say about it.
I also have a lot of things to say about it. So, for everyone listening, the Commanders unveiled a what's supposed to be a memorialization of Sean Taylor. You know what? I'm gonna let Shmag go first here. Him as a Commanders fan, he deserves this.
Yeah, you're the
um,
spokesman here.
so, um, a few days ago, we marked the 15-year anniversary of Sean Taylor, who was a Washington, then at the time Redskins safety, and he was there was a break in at his house, and he ended up not making it out. He got shot and killed and murdered, to put it bluntly. But I don't know. It sent shockwaves around the league, and I was, being a Redskins fan slash Commanders fan for, I mean, since I was a kid, it was just really, really hard. And anyone who's been a Washington fan for a long time kind of feels that, and it's like a soft spot that everyone kind of has, just because I mean, he was such a good player, and his career was just cut so short by something, senseless like that. So anyway, Washington decides that on the 15-year anniversary of his death, that they're going to unveil this memorial to Sean Taylor, and there's videos all over the internet about it. For those of you listening, you can go check it out. But it looks like it's just in this like corridor area of the stadium. I don't know exactly where it is. You can see like some stuff, some like shops and stuff in the background, but it is this terribly put together, like horrible mannequin looking like a memorial thing. And it's honestly, to me, like just with everything going on with the ownership of the team, it feels pretty disgusting. And it's like it really just feels like a slap in the face to the guy. I know that like their heart's in the right spot. Maybe Dan Snyder's an idiot and he's got to go, but it's like it's just this really cheap looking. It's like they woke up on the morning of the unveiling and they're like, oh, we should probably put something together now, and then they just fashion that up there real quick, and it's like not even like accurate uniforms. It's like a Nike jersey with like Reebok pants, and Sean Taylor wore like all Reebok because I was a sponsor of the NFL at the times, and it's not accurate to who he was or representation of what he stands for a lot of people, and it sucks, and that's why I'd taken it off the list because like I just didn't really have like much good to say about it at all, but um, I'll let you guys weigh in, and I would hope that you guys agree with me, but
Oh, dude, I 100% agree with you. It was horrible. Um,
yeah.
I just want to start by saying Sean Taylor was really that guy.
Hmm.
Like for the then Washington Redskins, he was that guy. The hit that he had in the Pro Bowl against the punter is absolutely iconic. Like he was your guys' best player for a lot of years. Like combine that with what he did at the University of Miami, and
Hmm.
like he was a superstar, like bona fide superstar. And for him to pass the way that he did so tragically, and then 15 laters, like this is how he's gonna be remembered. This guy deserves a statue out front, guys.
Yeah.
Like this guy deserves a statue, like all lit up 24/7. Like everything you got should have gone into the Sean Taylor tribute. And instead, we don't like nothing on this mannequin thing is even really that custom to Sean Taylor. Like you could throw any number up on that and like you would have think of whoever you first thought of with that number. Like nothing was geared towards Sean Taylor besides it being a Redskins uniform. Am I
Right.
right? Like you like this is crazy. This is bonkers, guys. Like I thought it was absolutely disgusting and it just shows the lack of discretion that the Redskins ownership really has right now.
Yeah, and I mean they could have done such a better job at like customizing it to make it like more fitting towards him. I mean, Sean Taylor, I mean, there's guys that still tape their face mask to this day. A couple guys on Oregon do this, like because of Sean Taylor, like put the tape on their face mask, and like, like he's left such a huge impact on so many players, and like for the organization, the only team that he played for, like to not like like give him and his family like that, is it. You're right, bonkers is the word. It's absolutely insane to me.
He's a legend,
Yeah.
like a legend for that organization.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that the Commanders front office was this bad at reading the room for this is just I just can't believe this came across some hopefully more than one person's desk, but I just can't believe they let this through, man. Like Schmack was saying, the inaccurate, the Nike jersey with the Reebok pants and the Adidas shoes, like, and no tape on the face mask. And yeah, I totally agree with Ty. I mean, he deserves a bronze statue in the front. I mean, that's just how it is, and it's not meant to come off disrespectful towards Sean Taylor. Obviously, it is his memorial, but I just think they could have done something better, man. It's just you hate to see it, man. He left what was a giant crater in the NFL. The impact that he left on, I mean, if you ask anyone to name a player on the Redskins, 9 out of 10 are going to say Sean Taylor,
Yeah.
and that's just how it is. The impact that he had on the game in the Redskins, and especially you would think the ownership, but I don't know if they feel the same about it as everyone else does at this point. So yeah, I mean, you hate to see it. Just do better, man. Like, he was the face of your franchise for years and years, and it's just, man.
Yeah, like the job that the Arizona Cardinals have done with Pat Tillman, like
Hmm.
he will always be remembered in that building. And like they have done a phenomenal job with Pat Tillman and how they handled that whole situation and holding him in such high regard. Um, for the Redskins to be this bad compared to what we know the NFL can do is just like Schmog said. It's humiliating and real slap in the face to Sean Taylor.
Yeah, and I mean with Pat Tillman, man, I mean like, we have an entire, how it's like a few weeks out of the year that they wear, military, you know, um, service stuff, and they wear the camo and stuff on field. All the players do, and that's great, And obviously, the whole NFL doesn't have to do something for Sean Taylor, But like, I mean, they could have really done something super cool and unique, and anyone who's been a Washington fan for a long time like knows Sean Taylor, and I mean, it's a soft spot that we all have, and it just feels like another slap in the face from old Mister Snyder up there. So I just, like I said, I hope that the right person comes into that organization and gives. I mean, a really loyal fan base too, man. I mean, like Washington fans. I mean, like
You
them
guys
through
have
the
been through it.
ringer, and like it's you just expect more out of people, but I guess that's what you get sometimes.
Boys,
Talk to me.
uh, oh boy, do I have the secret segment for you. It's
Oh,
another installment of Wrench's Corner. Exclusive to the Keep It Down podcast, of course, at Keep It Down Pod on Instagram. Don't forget. Anyways, um, this one is just a little story time for you. So, okay, if you've heard the story before, you don't get to answer. So, at the end of this, so we're talking about Palo Alto High School in California. They have two wide receivers on their team, right? One of which is Devonte Adams.
hmm
Hmm.
He had 29 catches for 484 yards, 7 touchdowns.
yep,
He was a wide receiver 2 his junior year. Can anyone
yep.
tell me whose wide receiver 1 was?
I did see the story, so I'm gonna let Schmog try to answer it first.
Um, um, wide receiver, wide. I mean, it's got to be someone about his age.
Correct.
I'll give you a hint. He doesn't play football.
Who played at Palo Alto? I mean, it's got to be like a basketball player.
There's no way you guess it. There's just no way.
Yeah, just give
Uh,
your guess so he can tell you.
no, just go ahead and give it to me. I don't want to sound like an idiot.
That'd be Jock Peterson, the
Yes,
old
sir.
player for the Dodgers and the Braves, baby. Baseball
Oh,
Yep,
no
player.
way.
He had 30
yep.
catches for 650 yards and 11 touchdowns.
Yeah, he was giving real Cooper Cup vibes out there, boys.
Dude, the more I looked into this, I was just like, there is no way that a player like Devonte Adams, probably the most gifted route runner of our generation, in front of our eyes, just wasn't that in high school. Like, and it's just crazy. You see stories like this come up, and so I just want to get some of your boys' takes on some other kind of out of position kind of stories like that. Like Logan Paul, for example. I was doing some research on this and he popped up. He had 1,600 all purpose yards his senior year at high school in Ohio. He had like
Wow.
7 D1 football offers. but then obviously did the whole wrestling thing and all that stuff. So, but do you guys have any notable out of position kind of stuff?
Well, hold on.
Mm,
Before I go into that, I wanted to say this. You know, Devonte Adams wasn't number one on his high school team, but at least it wasn't to some slump, some slouch. You know what I
It's
mean?
true.
This guy plays professional baseball. Like he is still one of the best athletes in the United States. He plays like he's the top 1% of the top 1% for baseball. Like he's still a good athlete. So it is at least it isn't just some guy that just works at Ace Hardware now. You know what I mean? That
yeah.
not Devonte Adams back in the day. You know what I mean? Like every customer that walks in, he's like, "Hey, hey, 2012, I was on the team with Devonte." Like you know what I mean? Like this guy
Yeah.
is still like that guy. You know, people like are sometimes can just be so gifted, like they're good at two sports, you know what I mean, multiple sports. Like Kyler Murray, he comes out of Oklahoma and he can either go play pro baseball, he can go play pro football if he wants to. It's all up to him. Like how many humans get that choice, you know what I mean? Obviously Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson come to mind.
Yeah.
um, and again, all three of those guys on that list are just absolute freak athletes. For them to be able to just be like, today I think I'm going to be a football player, and maybe next week I'm going to go play baseball. Like, just absolutely insane at the pro level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I mean, you kind of see it more and more too. I mean, especially in high school. I mean, you see more and more kids that want to start being, multi-sport athletes, and it's just kind of another avenue that you could possibly take. And if you play, I mean, more than one sport for every sport that you play, your chances of taking off and excelling at that sport or at a sport, kind of go up. But yeah, I mean, I had like Deion Sanders up there, Bo Jackson obviously up there. Um, I mean, I know there's definitely got to be more. I mean, Dwayne the Rock Johnson, had he obviously was a stud in college, and did I? You guys have to correct me if I'm wrong. Did he end up getting drafted, or did he stop playing football before that point?
I feel like he got drafted. I think he played pro ball for a little bit. Could be wrong.
Yeah,
Um,
another one is Braun playing high school football. He only
of
played as a
course.
sophomore and a junior. He had 103 catches for 2,065 yards and 25 touchdowns,
Yeah, I think he was like the player of the year in the state of Ohio.
which is absolutely nutty that a man that big can. It's just crazy, man. It really brings back into perspective the type of athletes that we're dealing with here.
Yeah, the Rock never played in the NFL. I'm reading.
Never played in the NFL.
Never played in the NFL,
So I
but
What
was
did
about
play.
okay.
Brock Lesnar played in the NFL, UFC
It's
fighter,
true.
WWE.
Of course.
Um,
What about Terry Crews? Also played in the NFL, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't know on that one to be honest with you, Shmang.
I want to say he did. Yeah, he was drafted by the Los Angeles Rams,
There you
1991
go.
draft.
hey,
Hey, the more you learn, okay?
yeah,
Yeah, I
boys.
know
So,
this isn't exactly on the same topic, but have you guys ever seen the clip of Andy Reid doing the punt pass kick when he was like 10 years old?
oh, dude, I
No,
And
love
go
that
ahead,
like
he's just like 6 feet taller than everyone.
why was he just full grown at that age? And then like for the video just to be like him just absolutely bombing some passes downfield after the other kids throw it like 10, 15 yards. He's just out there like his current quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, and just absolutely launching that thing. Like, oh my gosh, just the most absolute legendary clip, man.
I definitely imagine him being like 10 years old with that same mustache, just chucking that ball around too.
Yeah, dude, I'm wondering how State Farm got him to do those commercials, like of him on the plane drawing mustaches. Like, I know Andy Reid's really that guy, but I've never seen that guy in a commercial before.
There's
Yeah,
got to be a
never.
bag involved.
Oh,
Oh,
for
I'm sure there's
sure.
a massive bag.
So yeah, boys, that's all I got for you. Just one little story time that popped up on my feed, and I said, "Wow, boys, got to hear about this one."
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
definitely an absolutely epic Wrench's Corner there.
All right, so boys, I guess before we get into our pick'ems, a lot happened in the college football world the last couple weekends that we haven't really talked about. So I think it's only right that we go over these new top 25s that just came out, man.
Yeah, let's get into it, guys.
Um, so great game between Michigan and Ohio State this past weekend. Obviously, we all kind of had that one circled as that game just having massive implications on what the college football playoff and what that is all going to look like. So as it currently stands, Georgia at 1, Michigan at 2, your TCU Horned Frogs at number 3, and the dreaded University of Spoiled Children at number 4. Ohio State 5, Bama's at 6, Tennessee's at 7, so on and so forth. How do we feel about that top 4? Do you think we're being a
Yeah,
little harsh on Ohio State? Do you think that they should be a little higher? What are we thinking?
yeah, definitely. It's really interesting. I think the top two teams, being Georgia and Michigan, they can probably actually afford a loss this week and still make it into the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State dropping all the way to 5. That means, every time these top 25 lists come out, they give you little hints of what they're thinking. For Ohio State to be in that number 5 slot, they're next up. So the committee is telling you that they're still liking Ohio State. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if TCU, SC stumbles, I think Ohio State is probably that next team in.
Yeah.
And then, you get into the Alabama, Tennessee, Penn State section, and, obviously I don't think any of those teams have a chance. So really, we're talking about, who's going to survive the weekend and who's going to get in.
Yeah, I mean the way you cut it up is Alabama and Ohio State are idle, so they can't fall any. So really, what's left to be decided is the top four, and if one of the top four, I mean, if the top four win, obviously there's no justification for the committee to change it. I mean, that's just how
Yeah.
it is. They've never done it in the past, and honestly, there would be public outcry if they did. So if the top four all win their championship games this weekend, then it's pretty guaranteed to be locked moving forward. But like they were saying, if USC or TCU stumble, give a shot to Ohio State or Alabama. Personally, I think Alabama has a far higher resume than Ohio State does, but um, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, Michigan has a pretty cupcake game against Purdue, but Georgia's got to play LSU, and sure, we saw them lose to Alabama. No, sorry, not Alabama. Gosh, who they lose to last weekend? 2 weekends ago.
A&M.
A&M.
Yeah, LSU was just to A&M.
I knew it was an A
Yeah.
school. Anyways, yeah, so we could see LSU stir up the pot a little bit. Only time will tell, of course. Yeah, then you got USC. You got to play a Utah team that they already lost to once this season. So, I mean, another banger, boys, for championship weekend here.
Yeah, this is the banger of all banger weekends. The only thing that can make it sweeter is if you get that USC Oregon matchup going this weekend.
Mm. Yeah, wouldn't we all love that?
Yeah, I think we definitely would.
Yeah, but you know what, TC, we had our chance and we blew it.
Twice,
Yep.
3 times.
Yeah. Also, did you guys sit there and watch the Washington State game, just praying to the heavens that Washington State could find a way to win that game for us?
Well, yeah, that was the whole trifecta of it all. Obviously Oregon loses, then the news comes out that Dilly's leaving, and then at the end of the night, just to tear us down that much more, ruin any shred of hope we had. You're just praying that Wazoo's going to pull it out, and somehow Oregon still ends up in that Pac-12 championship game. And yet again, you just got to take a seat and just watch the mayhem unfold.
And I think the fact that that game was like a close game too, just makes it even worse.
Yeah, I got one more little topic here, boys. So last night, the Rose Bowl was the last holdout for expansion to come. So
Oh
basically,
yeah.
the Rose Bowl signed. Basically, it's an inclusivity deal. So it just basically guarantees that the Rose Bowl is one of the what will be 6 bowl games for the 12-team expansion playoff. That looks like it's going to be coming in 2024, boys. So
Yeah,
what
got
do we
confirmed
think?
today.
Do we like it? Do we not like it? I'm not sure how exactly it's going to be set up, but just want to get your initial thoughts on it.
I mean, I don't know. We've kind of talked about it a couple times, like up to this point. I'm kind of indifferent about it. I mean, I think like narrowing it down to the final 4 teams of the season obviously makes it extremely competitive, and when one team loses, it obviously causes a massive shift in everything. But I don't know. Expanding it's good, I think, because it's going to bring a lot more big money games. There's going to be a lot more big games like on TV, and then like the winner of these like certain bowl games are going to end up being in the playoff, and um, I think it's bad because it cuts down on competitiveness. I think it's good because um, it's going to bring more teams. And I think there's going to be more interesting matchups, maybe matchups that we haven't really seen or gotten to see because it's only four teams in the top. Um, but yeah, I think it'll be interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah, Chach, did they set a number to what they're expanding to? Like, do we know if it's 8 or 12 or what it is yet?
I
It
heard
said
12.
12 when it came out, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
that's what I thought as well. I'm looking at a 12-team playoff mock right now. So
Hmm.
basically, it has the top four seeds all having byes. So Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and SC would all be on bye for the first round. The games in the first round would be Clemson versus Penn State, Ohio State versus Tulane, Kansas State versus Tennessee, and Alabama against Utah. So I think this kind of goes back to Schmog's point. Like, these are some really interesting matchups that you're not going to get to see during the regular season. On the flip side, do we need to see Ohio State play Tulane?
Even
I
in
was
a
gonna say,
even in even in a mock bracket, they get a cake schedule, dude.
Exactly. I think it is really interesting because it gives a team like Utah a chance to go show if they're
Yeah.
the real deal or not against a powerhouse SEC team. And then obviously the Clemson versus Penn State, that's an interesting matchup. Kansas State and Tennessee, depending on what would happen this coming weekend. So I think it's going to be a little bit of both, guys. Just like with any playoff system, like you're going to get some really good matchups, and then you might get some teams that maybe shouldn't be there, but they have to be there. You know what I mean?
yeah, just to touch on expansion in general for a second. I think it's really year dependent because we've had years in the past where it's been Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, and then your one other team. Which
Yeah,
I mean, someone in the Big Ten is almost guaranteed to be undefeated. But
yeah,
Yeah.
then we have a year like this where we have one SEC team, one Big Ten team, one Big 12 team, and one Pac-12 team. So years like this make it a little easier on the eyes for sure, rather than seeing 3 out of 4 of the same teams year after year. But I mean, personally, I would have rather liked it in the 8 team neck of the woods. Something like 5 conference winners plus 3 out of like at large bids, if you will. 12's a little high. Also, boys, another aspect. This is going to lengthen the season by a decent amount. I mean,
Yeah.
12 teams. That's what, three extra games plus the natty.
Yeah.
yeah. It would be two more games than we have now.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's a lot. It's a whole 2 weeks, and also the time and the media deals and all that stuff. It's going to have to be 2 weeks longer. ESPN's going to have to hold their contract with whoever for 2 weeks longer, and they're not going to be able to, show basketball or whatever they want to get into next. So it's definitely going to be interesting how they kind of sort this all out. I mean, overall, you love to see it, like we said, get some different matchups of teams you wouldn't normally see, Clemson versus Oregon, some randoms like that, get Penn State play some quality teams that aren't on their side of the Big Ten. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see how they kind of sort this whole situation out. But
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of touched on it on a previous podcast, but it would really bring the hype back to the conference championship games. Like, think about it this week. If this was a 12-team expanded playoff, like Purdue would be fighting for a chance to get into the playoff this weekend. You know what I mean? Same with North Carolina. You know what I mean? So you want to talk about a Cinderella story? Like, it would really open the door for some of these teams to make a run at it at the end of the year. These conference championship games would just be that much sweeter this weekend. So I'm sure they know that, and that could factor into some of the decision making. Like, imagine the viewership this weekend if it's basically a win and you're in type of game. And then add that on to two more games that they get to televise and have commercials for and all that stuff. Another huge money maker.
yeah, absolutely. It's like I said, it's going to be kind of interesting to see how they wrap this all into one neat little package at the end of the year, right after the regular season. You get our rivalry
Yeah.
games, and then currently how it's kind of set up. You got the regular season, then you go, your conference championships, and then they kind of have a 2-3 week period to kind of get everything sorted out and kind of figure out what they want to do. When they move to this 12-team expansion, they're going to have to get right to it, man. I mean, there's going to be no break. They're going to have to get sorted who's playing who at what venue and get cracking
Yeah.
on it. So it's definitely a lot more meat on the plate of the, you know, ESPN as a whole or college football as a whole, whatever you want to call it. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think maybe to combat that, maybe you shorten the regular season by a game. Maybe you don't go and play Southeastern Carolina State week 2. Maybe you just hold off on that one and we can get to
Hmm.
business maybe a week earlier. So it cuts down on the game time just a little bit. But yeah, super interesting to see how this all plays out, guys.
boys, since we're on college football, let's stick around for a little longer. What do you say?
Yeah.
This is our conference championship pick'ems presented by DUBBY. Unlike any other drink in the energy category, W prides themselves on developing a tried and true clean energy formula. With the patented neurofactor formula, you can stay locked in all day with no crash or jitters. No calories, no sugar, no maltodextrin, no fillers or artificial colors. Why would you choose anything else? You, uh, you, so on w.gg, use code keep it down for 10% off your purchase. Again, use code keep it down, all caps, no spaces, for 10% off your purchase at w.gg. Boys, let's get right into it here. First game, 12 Utah versus 4 USC. This one's played in Las Vegas. The line's looking like -2.5 USC, which is, I believe, what it was when they played in the regular season as well. Of course, that was in Salt Lake City. This one will be a neutral site, a little different dynamic. I'm taking Utah just strictly for my sanity at this point. Um, I just don't think USC is what they think they are, man. So,
Mm.
Utah, they are struggling to say the least, but I mean, you got blessed with the Pac 12 berth, Pac 12 championship game berth from Oregon. You're welcome, by
Yeah,
the
you're
way.
welcome, Utah.
So let's take it and let's win this thing, baby.
Yeah. A lot of the year I feel like I've been picking with my heart, guys. I've been picking with my heart when it comes to this whole Oregon and the USC teams. Obviously,
Mm.
picking for Oregon against USC. Um, going into this, USC is looking to avenge their only loss of the year. Caleb Williams very well could win the Heisman this year. Caleb Williams, like having a Heisman on your team is gonna help you in these big games, in these big time situations. The last game was a high scoring affair. I think that bodes very well to USC's side. Obviously, high scoring games is what they like. They're geared towards that, and I think Utah being able to compete with them last time was a little bit of an anomaly. I think USC is gonna win this one, guys. I know I can't believe the words are coming out of my mouth, but I'm gonna play a little bit of Nostradamus here. They will win the Pac-12 championship. They will get in as the number 4 seed, and they will be fed to the monster that is Georgia and be absolutely humiliated on the national stage. And we will ultimately be able to laugh in their faces, guys. So I think USC wins this week, and I can't wait to see what happens after that.
I love that. I
That's an
absolutely love
absolute
that by you.
five-step plan right there.
Yeah, that's great. You're definitely playing chess right here. Um, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to say it. I think USC is going to win this game. I don't. I wish. I wish it was Oregon. I think Utah is just kind of limping through the rest of the season. I don't think Cam Rising is 100%. I don't think that team is just exactly where they need to be. They're extremely banged up. Um, and I think USC is very hot, especially after that win against Notre Dame last weekend. So I'm going to go USC. It hurts to say it, but I know that you know what? I know we're gonna get ours when USC gets thrown to the wolves. So, but I'm picking USC this weekend.
It
You know,
hurts.
boys, it
It
hurts.
hurts.
It hurts. That's why the Utes are going to pull it out for us, though, boys. Rolling to our second one. We got 13 Kansas State versus 3 TCU. This is an AT&T Stadium in Dallas, boys. Arlington, sorry. TCU is a 2.5 point favorite. A little disrespectful, I feel, for the third best team in the country. Um, I've picked against TCU all year in hopes that Oregon would be 11-1, right there waiting to take their spot. But that is no more. So I am officially jumping on the Horn Frog train, boys. So
Hey, welcome, welcome.
Yeah, this is a tough one, guys. Similar to the lines that Chach just laid down, I've been picking against TCU, kind of rooting against them all year for Oregon's sake, hoping that they didn't steal that last college football playoff spot from us. But we're in a new day and age now. Okay, Oregon is not in the college football playoff picture. TCU definitely has the better team, but as we all know, beating the same team twice in a year is very challenging to do. Um, K State is in that ultimate spoiler role, and they have the formula to beat TCU. Right? They have a good defense. They have a potent rushing game. Okay, those are two things that are going to travel well. Right? All that being said, I don't think that the Big 12 has it enough to slow down TCU, and I think they ultimately secure their spot in the college football playoff. The thing that we always say about college football is it's unpredictable. So
Mm-hmm.
we're expecting some huge shakeup this weekend. I don't know if we're going to get it, guys. I think TCU locks up that spot.
Yeah, I mean, especially since TCU and Kansas State have already played once this season, and it was when Kansas State was on a bit of a run and they were just absolutely humiliating teams. Um, but yeah, man, I'm sticking with it. I've picked with TCU this whole entire year, and I'm not switching up on the boys now. So I got TCU to win that game, and they're going to secure their 3 seed in the playoff.
not a bad pick. Schmeig's been a TCU guy all year, man. I don't
He
know.
really has, man. If
He's a
the
big
if
Solid.
one.
the wheels didn't fall off the bus on the Tennessee bandwagon, Schmeig might have, he's still leading us in pick'ems, but how far ahead would he be if Tennessee didn't fall off?
Yeah, it might have got ugly for us boys in the back here.
Yeah.
So, all right. Moving into Purdue versus number 2 Michigan. I'm going to keep this pretty short here, boys. I don't think this is going to be very competitive for very long. I expect Michigan to rest Corum as well, even though they found an absolute stud in Donovan Edwards behind him. So, kid's a true
Sheesh.
freshman out there. So, and what we're talking about with this Michigan team a lot is the passing game. What happens when a team stops to run? What happens when they don't run for 350 yards? Well, they went ahead on Saturday and showed us and torched the Ohio State defense, just throwing the ball. Uh, Michigan's like, how can we beat them over the top? Well, I guess it's pretty easy when there's no top on the fucking pan. So, they were just pushing the ball vertically, which is something we didn't know Michigan could do. So, I mean, seeing that, I'm a believer now. Of course, don't want to. Of course, a couple weeks ago, I said Michigan was overrated. Okay, I was on the other side as well. So, I mean, don't quote me. Don't pull up any receipts. I don't want to hear it. But yeah, Michigan's going to take this game easily, boys.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Chach. The one word I was going to describe it as is whoa. Because Michigan really proved it to us last week, guys. We were all on that Ohio State bandwagon, and they just come out and have an unbelievable performance.
Again.
They really did whatever they wanted to do. Obviously, the passing attack for most of the game, and then at the end to put your stamp on the game with the two long rushing touchdowns, just to really salt it away. Just whoa. You know what I mean? Like, who expected this out of this Michigan team? All year it seemed like they were just getting fed cupcakes. So we really didn't know what to expect from them going into the Ohio State game. And I think they're one of the heavyweights this year, guys. They're in the upper echelon of the college football teams. I think they absolutely roll in this one.
Yeah, it hurt me pretty bad. I'm a big Michigan guy. I like the program that they have up there and what they got going on. And it hurt me to pick against them and pick Ohio State last week. I was I picked selfishly. Any Michigan fans listen to this? I was being selfish. I was trying to protect my record and I was wrong. And I'm not making that mistake again. I got Michigan by a whole bunch in this game, and think they're gonna lock up that 2 seed.
Absolutely, boys. All right, moving on to the big one, the SEC championship. We got number 11 LSU versus number 1 Georgia in Atlanta. Boys, just talking about this stadium just gives me PTSD. But anyways,
Mm-hmm.
um, Georgia's a 17 and a half point favorite over LSU, which is kind of where I expected it to be. We kind of saw Georgia have some tests, Tennessee's of the world, and they handled those, and then they kind of went off the radar. Their rivalry game isn't as competitive as some of the others in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we kind of saw them blip off the radar, but I still think this team is damn good. The just talking about their tight end room alone is insane, and then you got gosh, what they're running, is it McIntosh? Is that the running back's name?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, it wanted to slip my mind at the end there, but they have a vertical passing game. They get the backs involved in the flats. They say, "Hey, we're going to get our guy in space, and we're going to see who's better between our guy and your guy." And I can tell you from experience, 9 times out of 10, it's their guy. I'm going to take Georgia here. I think it's going to be closer than people think, but I think Georgia's looking to keep that one spot and get the easiest shot at the natty here, boys.
Yeah, I think LSU really overlooked A&M, right? That was embarrassing. They're still kind of hanging around that college football playoff picture at the time, and oops, you lose to A&M. Like, what is you doing out here? You know. And then now this week you're going to play in the SEC championship, and who's your opponent? It's Georgia, and they are Mister Consistent for the past 2 years. Like, they come out and they play Georgia football every week. They have a defense that's going to travel well. They got an offense that can score points when they need to. Um, I think for those two reasons, George is going to again stay consistent and take the SEC championship, lock down that number one spot for the college football playoff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to pick Georgia for sure. I mean, um, that team is something scary. And TC, we talked about at the beginning of last season, man. And like I remember watching the first couple games of the Georgia of Georgia playing last year, and I told Ty and I was like, dude, like this team is there is something just different about this team and what they have going on down there right now, and I still don't feel any differently. But what if? Okay, bear with me. I'm picking Georgia, but what if? Okay, bear with me. What if LSU wins this football game?
Yeah,
Like just like hypothetical, what if? What happens to the top four if Georgia loses this game?
yeah. I don't think you can move Georgia out of the top four, even
Sure.
with a loss.
Hmm.
Undefeated right now, I don't think you can move them out of the top four. With that being said, unless absolute mayhem happens in the other conference championship games, the top four doesn't really change, right? If
Hmm.
you still have Georgia in there, even if they lose, um, I think taking them out of the top four would really be punishing them for playing in the conference championship game, right? You have other teams that are idle, Ohio State and Alabama, sitting at those next spots in. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
So how can you punish them for being in the conference championship game and allowing one of those teams that didn't make theirs in? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Tratch, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they could maybe drop them to 4, maybe. I mean, but there's just no way that they fall out. Uh, so you maybe see a different matchup with Georgia sliding to 4 and a team like Michigan or even TCU if Michigan somehow loses to Purdue, which I don't see happening. But you see a Michigan sliding to 1, TCU get the 2, USC get the 3. I think Georgia would keep the 3 over USC for sure. But yeah, no shot they fall behind Ohio State being idle. There's just no way,
Yeah,
especially
I
with
don't think it.
Yeah.
strength of schedule and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't think it would move them out of the top four. I think the only way this could get really crazy is if we see a couple of these top four teams lose. Then, I mean, like you said, all hell is going to break loose, and we're going to be having lots of discussions about coulda, shoulda, woulda. Like, there's going to be a lot going on. I don't think Georgia loses that game, but I think the thought of a shakeup, I mean, it would come in the form of LSU and Utah possibly beating USC, but crazy to think about. I don't think it's gonna happen, but crazy to think about.
Yeah, if SC or TCU lose, it's just absolute mayhem. Like
Yeah,
all rules have gone out the door. Like who are you letting in? Who are you
yeah,
gonna let in? You gonna let in Ohio State, who just got absolutely emasculated on national TV to that
and
Michigan team?
their first tough game of the season.
Yeah, like you gonna let Bama back in? We saw what happened against Tennessee.
Hmm.
First two loss
Like
team
they
ever.
And LSU.
and LSU. Um, it's gonna be probably one of those two because they're at that 5 and 6 spot. Like things will get very weird if SC or TCU lose. You know?
Yeah.
Absolutely, boys. Moving to our final pick 'em here. We've got number 10 Clemson versus 24 University of North Carolina. This one's in Charlotte. Um, Lions at 7.5 for Clemson here, which I think is what it was about going to be. I'm actually kind of excited to watch this one here, boys. Because I want to see what that North Carolina quarterback's about. He's like
Hmm.
third in the Heisman voting, and I just never noticed or really paid attention. But
Got
so
a grip of passing yards.
yeah, that metric piss ton of passing yards. So yeah, definitely want to turn that one on and see what he's all about. And Clemson, man, we talk about it time and time again. You know, South Carolina went in there and shocked them at home, which is a rough one. You know, they're having these quarterback issues still constantly. It seems like we've been saying it all season, but I'm gonna take North Carolina here, and I think Clemson's kind of gonna get semi-exposed on national television here.
Oh,
So
Chach is back. He's back to it, man. You heard it here first. He's
never
back on
left.
the Clemson hate train.
Yeah, definitely. I have no idea what to expect out of this game, guys. Um, Clemson seems out of gas. They've been on a
True.
very impressive run for the last 6 years, obviously with the 6 straight college football playoff appearances. UNC is coming off back-to-back losses. Does winning the ACC mean anything for Clemson? You know what I mean? Like, are they gonna be hyped for this game, knowing that they don't have a shot at the college football playoff? Um, you know, they have owned the ACC for the last 6 years. So just off of that fact alone, I'm gonna roll with Clemson, Old Faithful. But I again have no idea what to expect out of this game.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I caught most of the end of the that UNC game last weekend, and it was going into overtime, and the end of that game was crazy. I mean, the last minute took like it seemed like 30 minutes. It was nuts. But yeah, I mean, I haven't really watched them enough outside of that, and I mean, you're definitely right though. Clemson just seems so out of gas, and this season has just been so up and down for them. Um, yeah, I'm going to take Clemson by at least a couple touchdowns. I don't know if UNC is in that conversation of being able to beat them yet, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah, weird little Clemson stat, dude. I didn't realize, we were talking about Kenny Dillingham departing Oregon for so-called greener pastures, but Clemson kept their whole staff for like almost 4 or 5 years, I want to say,
Hmm.
with Brent Venables and I forget the name of their OC, and then obviously
Dabo.
Dabo Sweeney, baby.
Yeah.
So kept that whole staff for 4 years, which is insane, and how volatile college football coaching carousel is. So
Hmm.
just a random little thing.
Yeah, definitely kind of a blueprint to how to be a consistent program. You know what I mean? Um, they rode with their dogs. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah, really unique to see that happening at the college level.
Yeah, I've got one little random thing that I saw pop up on my my old TikTok today, boys.
Hmm.
or maybe it was yesterday.
One of the days.
So, how familiar are you boys with the Liver King?
Oh, I
I
I
was
watch
gonna
Liver
I
King
was
all the time.
I was gonna bring this up earlier when we were talking about the whole social media thing. I've been keeping up heavy, and TC, I was gonna text you about it today,
Yeah,
but
like
I didn't
I
get
think
around to it.
I followed him more closely maybe like 6 months to a year ago. Not as much lately. Is something going on with the guy or what?
So,
Go
I
ahead,
mean,
Touch. You brought it up.
okay, so basically, long story short, these emails get leaked from Brian Johnson, aka Liver King, to I don't know if it was a doctor or a friend or a colleague or something. I think it was some sort of doctor or
It was
something like that.
it was a coach he was consulting with.
Okay, so probably a mutual friend of some sort who also does something in the world of sports medicine. Anyways, the emails entailed that he spends $12,000 a month on gear,
Wow.
HGH, test, that probably ketamine at this point. I don't know. Just I mean, just a laundry list of stuff, and all this is all over TikTok and everything. So if you have any interest, definitely go look it up. It's a whole email, and there's literally a shopping list of all the stuff that he was currently taking at the time, and basically he was seeking insight from this dude for kind of the results he was looking to gain and all that kind of stuff. So but where I was going with this is, you see all these interviews that he does, and everyone asks the questions, "Are you on PEDs?" He says, "No." I'm high on life. That he gives that kind of answer. Ancestral tenets, primals, all that fucking shit. And so, it finally comes out that obviously he's on gear because I mean, anyone who knows anything, even a
he,
sliver about
he looks like a
weightlifting, or
walking ribeye, dude.
yeah, I mean, come on.
That's
So
what I was gonna say is like we're not shocked. You know what I mean? Like we've had this discussion before. Like he's an older dude. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
he's
to be
44.
that yeah, to be that big, that vascular, that shredded all the time, like dude, there's no way that just comes from just eating meat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know what I mean? Like there's just no way. Like knowing what we know about bodybuilding like there's just no way without the help of PEDs that you're getting that physique year round.
Yeah, and I mean, and his thing was that he never took anything and he didn't need it. And he said on numerous podcasts, "I don't take anything," and like you're saying, I'm high on life. That's what he says. Um, yeah, and then I've been keeping up with it pretty close. And then he put out a video today, like this evening, like a few hours ago, where he just kind of owns up to the whole thing and kind of talks about it. And he's a character for sure. But yeah, I'm anxious to see where this goes for him now, because obviously his projection. I mean, he kind of there's some statistics that came out, and he was like prior to like a year and a half ago, like not very popular, like successful in his own right with his businesses, but really just blew up online. And now obviously he's everywhere. You can't open a YouTube page without seeing him, or TikTok or something like that. Um, just moral of the story, I guess, always be yourself. That's not the issue, but I mean, be straight up and honest, because I mean, you just never know when something's going to come out, or something from the past comes up again. So
Well, and this is what I was gonna say is that it's not like you pay attention to the guy because you think that eating what he eats is gonna like unlock this pathway to this ultimate body, right? Like you're not seeking advice from this guy. You know what I mean? The reason you're keeping up with this guy is because of the primals. And because he's eating bull testicles and
hey,
bone marrow and raw
why
ground beef, like
why eat
it's the
vegetables when you can eat testicles?
exactly. It's the character portion of it. Plus, like, you get to show your friends, like, oh, dude, look what he's eating. You know what I mean? Like, you're not following him because you, like, take this guy seriously. Like, he's going to be the next Mr. Olympia or something. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
that's what was funny about it to me, dude. Like looking at the emails, and he has like the whole thing outlined. He's like, I want to do A, B, and C to basically sell supplements, is what he said. I want to create a supplement line. And then that's what he does. He says, oh, you have to eat liver, heart, intestines, all this stuff, bone marrow. And then he goes on these podcasts and everyone says, oh, God, it's pretty raunchy, and this, that, and the other. So then what does he do? He says, oh, well, I have a protein shake with all of that baked in. So, and he's selling it, at the end of his video, whole beast, as he does every single video. And so it's just wild, man. That like in today's day and age that someone even has the freedom to do something like this. It's so cool. It's such interesting little communities that you find yourself in.
Yeah, it's definitely a strange world because like being exposed for taking PEDs can really alter everyone's perspective of you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You think about Barry Bonds and that whole steroid summer with Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa. And then even as recently as DeAndre Hopkins and his, I think it was Tre'Davious Ward last week calling him out, calling him old PED boy. Like, I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts? Can you bounce back after taking PEDs, or is your optics forever tarnished?
I mean, I think in some cases, I think there's people that definitely feel like they've been betrayed. I mean, I'm sure there's some Liver King fans out there that would swear up and down. He says he's not on steroids, and he says he's never touched the stuff, and so I believe him. And then finding out that like that's all a lie, and people have been, freaking eating raw liver in the mornings all because of this one person, like whether or not they form good habits because of the guy. But you lose a lot of credibility, man, like when stuff like that happens, especially with stuff like steroids, because steroids just have such a persona around them.
Hmm.
um I mean, but then on the flip side of that, I mean, I think there are people who have loyal followers are will remain loyal followers. And I mean, just reading the comments on his, not really an apology video, but kind of like his like owning up to it video that I watched, like hundreds of people, hey, thanks for owning up, means a lot. Like there's always going to be those people that, a simple, hey, I messed up is enough for.
I
Hmm.
think there's definitely levels to it when you look at the Lance Armstrongs of the world who are obviously taking
Yeah,
PEDs to gain a competitive advantage in prestigious competition. But then you got someone like the Bradley Martins of the world who have a very high influence on a young group of people, and
it's
he
true.
sits down and is very open and honest that obviously he's taking steroids. You don't look like that when you have never taken steroids, so he's very open and honest. He, tells you what are the side effects, what are the positives, what are the negatives, all that stuff. Go to a doctor, get blood work, and all that stuff. So I definitely think there's ways to it. I don't think it's impossible to come back, especially for a social media guy. It might be harder
Well,
for a prestigious athlete that, John Jones, that whole situation or stuff like that. So,
yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, that is effectively going to do it for episode 10 of the Keep It Down podcast. Boys, it was a blast. As always, follow us on Instagram at Keep It Down Pod. You can find all of our exclusive content for podcasting, all that stuff of that nature. And if you want a W, be sure to go to w.gg. Again, use code Keep It Down, all caps, no spaces, for 10% off your purchase. Boys,
Yeah, guys, just want to say thanks for listening. Another awesome episode in the books, and we hope to catch you back here next time.
Thank you so much, everyone, for stopping by, and we'll catch you all soon.
be good people out there.